I think we're live. Welcome to Set Impact, where we discuss how emerging technology is changing sectors, society, and the world at large. And for a brief period, for around about 6 weeks, I'll be speaking to founders, solving some of the most interesting and hardest problems over LinkedIn Live. And today we have the amazing Beatrice, the CEO of Smart Tribe. Thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for inviting me, Chad. Yes, we've been speaking since March, I think, about the idea of chatting.
Yes. The pandemic hit us with a curveball, as with many people. Could you tell the audience a little bit more about Smart Tribe, what your vision and mission is?
Smart Tribe, we are a London-based company, but we are very international. It's a global platform which connects academia and industry professionals. So if you think about dating apps, so we are kind of following similar logic, but between scientists and industry professionals, or just anybody who is interested in the research and academia. So what we are doing personalized introductions. We have our artificial intelligence behind them, based on people profiles and intentions and goals. We are matching them and introducing to each other, believing that they should speak to each other because of the knowledge exchange, giving career advice. A lot of our academics want to commercialize the technologies. People find co-founders between themselves. So that's the basic. It's just a platform where we connect those two worlds which haven't been speaking to each other for way too long.
Could you talk a little bit more about your background? I mean, obviously we've spoken before, and from my perspective, it almost seemed like a founder startup fit, really, as you can say. So, I mean, could you talk a little bit more about your background, the problem that you acknowledged leading up to starting up Tribe?
So I have 20 years of experience as a management consultant, and I specialized for many years in commercializing emerging technologies, new technologies for Fortune 500. I have really traveled the world looking for new, very often new research, very often coming from scientific research, new technologies, and then we were transferring to companies, either in the format of indeed university transfers, but most commonly finding the right people, taking them over to companies, or finding startups and acquiring them. I've lived a year in China, a couple of years in Russia, a few years in the US, sometime in Sub-Saharan Africa, anywhere where the project were taking me from a few months to a few years. So I had fun. However, traveling all those years and hunting for scientists and turning their science into great products, what I've noticed is a massive waste of tech and talent coming from scientific research, absolutely untapped, unknown to people. Less than 2% of current technologies in the world comes from scientific research, less than 2%. There's 165 million of research papers. Hardly anybody outside of the academia, even within academies, cannot read because it's written in esoteric language and it's just written, nobody can understand. Around majority, 70% of that science cannot be commercialized because it's just so far-fetched. However, what about if we even add 1 more %? What difference would it make? And I also, as I make myself, I said, okay, I'm gonna have to stop working and make myself a mission. I've been previously involved also in setting up 2 other startups, machine learning and artificial intelligence. So I got a little bit the idea of entrepreneurship, and I love it. It was really hard for me to go back to corporate after that. Once you get the bug, and I was really, really lucky. About a year ago, I met my co-founder, Chris Jack, who is a computer scientist, an amazing person, who also cares very much about the problem. He knows the academia problems very much firsthand from his own experience as well. And he added, the struggle of academics transitioning from academia to industry. So there's massive need for this communication between those two worlds. Also, 80% of academics have to transition to industry because there's not enough jobs in the universities, right? The whole academia world it's quite rigid and has not been probably changed and challenged for the past 100 years. So let's not go there even. But so we see the need, and we started Smarter about a year ago, trying to solve the problem. How we can tap into the tech and talent from academia, how we can communicate, how we can bring it more to the world, and especially now, because the newer generation of academics, they really want to make impact in the world around them. They just don't want to make the science for the heck of science, most of them anyway, what we come across. I speak to many of them, and always is the same. I want to make an impact. I want to change. I want to help with their research, with their skills. And also, the attitude of the governments is changing. There's less and less grants available for just research, and the grant givers say, well, can you give us back something we can commercialize it now? So it's the right timing as well. And I think the COVID also, the dark period of COVID helped a little bit, because we realized how much we actually need people like academics who are more altruistic, can make a difference, and we can be more patient of creating things which are worthwhile. So anyway, we started with Chris Smarter about a year ago. For 6 months, we have been experimenting, how to solve the problem, about the business model, how to do it. We were not happy with the first attempts, and about March, April, we introduced an idea of individuals connecting. And the moment we've done it, we have grown by 600% the first month. I was like, okay, this is it. And we just pivot,
When did you make that pivot?
I think March. Sorry?
March, April. So during the pandemic, you made that pivot.
We have made the pivot during pandemic, right at the start, and the first months of the lockdown, we have grown like crazy. I know, and it hasn't stopped since then. It's like a hockey stick. It's unbelievable. People are joining us both from academia and industry, and the model we introduced, just introducing people to each other, it really works well. Really works well. Like I said at the beginning, we are global. Which I would say the dominance of our users are both industry and academia are from the US. 50% of our platform is based in the US, UK, Germany, Switzerland, obviously, where is the big academic hubs. I think Asia is a little bit lagging, but I'm sure we'll get there. Still, we are busy enough so far.
Yeah. Could you talk about your technology and kind of what you pivoted to in terms of like what you've built? And why you think that hockey stick growth has occurred?
Why? Well, we have some ideas, because there have been many attempts before for the academia to get out and speak to the world outside, to the industry, to other people, governments, but it was always happening between institutions. Okay, and it's not very efficient. It doesn't work. I'll give you an example. Last night I was speaking to the head of R&D, one of the very big electronic companies based in Silicon Valley, and he said to me, "I love your idea, because you know what? I'm fed up. Every single time we have to work with university, we have to spend like $1 million. I don't know, never could understand why we cannot speak to the individuals or just groups of academics. Now we can. next to you. So the institutionals is very, very complicated collaboration. It's happening, it's important. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. Yes, it's important. It's important for the university to take the grants for industries and so on and develop the relationships. But on a bigger scale, it's really slows down the exchange and industry actually tapping in what academia is producing. So finally, people saw something novel. Also, the academics looking for jobs, for career advice. A lot of postdocs are looking for consultancy opportunities. Management consultants looking for experts, and there are a few companies which are providing those experts, but charging ridiculous amount of money. So there's been a lot of situation where we see, okay, that on the individual level, it would be much more interesting. And academics are very giving people, very, they really want to talk to others. They want to talk about their research. They want to get out. They want to, they don't, during their getting a PhD is a qualification, where people don't understand. It's not just being a student. So it's a little bit misunderstood. And also people want, while you're doing your PhD, you stay in academia for many years, and what you know is just your silo of academics. You don't know anyone outside. You don't have your network outside of academia. And what we are encouraged, build your network. Talk to other people. You want to get a job on Google. Well, talk to them. Talk to other PhDs who are working in Google. They tell you. They can introduce you to others. And this, we are more used to social media, but we are used to networking, right? Through LinkedIn, I suppose it's more difficult, especially for people like academics who are not all, but majority are introverts. So pinging someone and say, I want to talk to you, is very hard for them. You would not believe most of them don't even use LinkedIn. So if we are introducing them to something and say, here is John and here is Sarah, and you have to talk to each other, and we're introducing you, and then helping them a little bit handhold, that's a very different story. So I think there was a novel idea for them. At the same time, the model is not novel, because we used to using dating apps and all kind of networking tools. We just put this into the different content, and indeed I think the fact that people were in lockdown a little bit helped, because people have more time talking to each other, and also they have more the need to helping each other. And our platform, the whole encouragement to network, is all about, a lot of it is about helping each other too.
Do you think eventually speaking about your technology specifically, what you guys have built, so you guys have built something that facilitates networking between industry and PhDs, and also amongst PhDs. I mean, from my limited knowledge, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, a lot of great opportunities are kind of hidden, if you get what I mean. They're not like outwardly advertised. And so so actually networking with other PhDs actually helps because of the hidden job opportunities that are accessible to only a certain network, right?
Yeah. I
mean, eventually, do you think you'll kind of have like a job board for academics to apply to? Could you talk a little bit more about your technology specifically?
Well, we are not a recruitment company, and we don't want to be. We're not going to have a job board. It's a networking platform, and if some people find job through it, excellent. We do our job for us. Actually, our first success story is to put is a startup. There was a lady in France and a lady in Denmark. They got together and they started a company. So it is, they got jobs for themselves, but in a different way. There are people who just a lot of the industry people are innovation managers, R&D managers, CEOs, other co-founders, managers, who just want to hear what's happening in the research in their field, what's happening in the medical devices, what's happening and the latest development, because they can't read the research papers and they want to have feedback from us. Sometimes they do want the experts, But in terms of the technology, what you're saying, we're not gonna to build a recruitment platform. It's a networking platform, okay? And also we are expanding now for academics talk to each other. It's not just between academics and industry, but also between academics, so they can give advice to each other, because they also work in silos, you know, within the specific scientific area. If I work in, I don't know, biomedical devices and somebody is a chemist or whatever, they just don't very often communicate what they're doing, and sometimes they could be solving the same problem. So they want to start talking to each other. It's very interesting angles, and also different regions start talking to each other, and people within industries. We have an example where there's one company, one person wants to talk to another person working for the same company, but then they said, why don't you just email him, you know, through your internal networks? Well, yeah, but he's based in Berlin and I'm in Boston, and it's just like, we prefer to go through you. So we see the need also people within industry, but talking about to each other, but within the same area of interest, okay, of innovation, technology, R&D, and so on. So a technology, you know, Chris, my co-founder, he's computer scientist. He was the chief data scientist for Mendeley, and then for Elsevier. Elsevier is the biggest scientific publisher in the world. And he's super, you know, he's a great guy, but also he's so super talented. And he's building the algorithm, which we are improving every single month when we are doing the matches, you know, matching these people, like, you know, on the preferences. So we are constantly learning and so on. So he's building product, super friendly, very sleek, you know, something which once you want to use it, you know, he's really good with user experience. We are constantly learning from people what they like, what they don't like. We're making this very simple, friendly as possible. So that's the, you know, what we built in the first 6 months. We had to pretty much delete because the user didn't want it, and then we finally found something. So just went for it.
It's incredible when you test so many things and then eventually you hit that peak and you finally find something that resonates. Could you kind of talk about some of your challenges? I mean, actually, well, first of all, before you talk about the challenges that led up to hitting product market fit, so to speak, kind of talk about your current challenges right now. I mean, you're going through a growth period. Yeah, could you talk about, could you elaborate on that?
Our current challenges is just whatever all the founders have, you know, lack of time. We are a very small team of 3 people. We have also a great team member who is Sonia, who is our community engagement manager. And our biggest challenge is just it's because we're growing so fast. I'll just take back. Our biggest challenge previously was we knew what problems we are solving. We just couldn't figure out the right way. So we were kind of, you know, testing. And it was really frustrating, you know, testing all of that. And the moment when we figured this out, and now it has been 6 months, and we are so really confident in that, you know, testing over and over from different, and the growth and the user love it. So we actually have a Slack channel. We collect everything, notes from our users, which is great. So with every startup, you know, have this period of, you know, euphoria and then going down and constant challenges. Now when we are confident with the product, it's building the product what we're confident about, you know, because before, like, every company, you build something very quickly, the MVP, you know, doesn't have to be perfect. It's just test it if it works. Right? You don't try something amazing and then test it. No, you just do something quick and dirty, and if it works, bam, you go for it. So now we have confidence. We are investing in the mobile app because we believe this is the right thing to do. Only a year after we started the company, we didn't have the confidence before. So it's just the challenge of a small team growing super and we were expecting the scaling after the start of the next year, but we brought it forward 6 months earlier, and scaling with a team and resources which are just for very early stage startup, but it's super, super hard. So that's the biggest challenge, is doing at the same time. I suppose it's a song every founder is singing, doing everything at the same time, multitasking. And we are preparing now for our second fundraising, because we brought forward the scaling, and that takes a lot of time as well. It's pretty much full-time job. And at the same time, we have to remember about the growth, the user growth, because we want to keep that hockey stick growth, and also the retention. We have never scraped any databases. It's all organic growth, because we want those people to use our platform. It's not just be there. So we have to maintain the good numbers of active users every month using us. We introduced now the subscription model. So individual subscriptions, keeping eye on that to picking up as well. Although I wish we could have more financial resources, not to worry so much about it, but just to focus on the growth. But it's good to do it anyway at this point. So we prove the point that people are willing to pay for it, right? But I wish at some point we just don't need to worry about it. We just focus on 100% growth.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to say if you don't like, but I mean, is there a specific range you're looking to raise within?
We are thinking about £1 million right now.
Okay. Amazing.
For our next round, we have raised about $300,000, sorry, pounds, £220,000 in our first round, and it will keep us still going. We are still okay, and now we also start to have the subscriptions. It doesn't break the bank, but still. So it's not. So we will be okay. We don't have to fundraise, because we don't have money, or because we are running out of money. I don't worry about that. It's because we want to keep the momentum. Okay, growing so fast, people love it. Why to slow down? Why to grow slower if we can do it faster?
Yeah, that's amazing. And could you talk about, there was one thing I was really curious to understand is, what did you learn about deciphering feedback, in your early days, and actually figuring, I mean, so obviously you've gone through many iterations of your product to eventually hit product market fit. What did you learn about deciphering the right feedback in order to be able to provide you with the right insight to build what you need to build?
Remember that our background, we are academics. I left academia many years ago. Nevertheless, I worked with academics for many years. Chris was academics, and he left some years ago, but still being in touch with that. So what is very it's a great skills academics have. It's thrive on feedback. Okay. This is how you work on your research. You just constantly feedback on other people's feedback, your peers and so on. You collaborate with others. So we have this in our veins to thrive on feedback. And but also all founders know that you have to have a feedback from your users. You listen. When I suppose the first months when we got together, we talked to 75 companies around the world just to test our ideas. And since then, we're constantly learning. I think we spoke to hundreds of people already. Constantly feedback. And then when we start building the products, it was as well, feedback, what they like it, what they don't like it. But even with the early ideas, we were not comfortable with it, and we just saw people were not really buying into it. They appreciate the problem we were trying to solve, but we were thinking a little bit too traditional way. And we just talked to different people within that network and industry, trying to solve the problem before as well, not being successful, some being more successful. talk to the academics, talk to the industry people. It's just constantly talk to everyone in the new ecosystem, and never stop. Then when you have the market fit product, again, keep asking people for feedback on both sides, because we have those two groups of academics and industry. So be very, very careful, test very quickly, and we are not also, we are very quick reacting to it. So not being impulsive, but reacting quick. So even yesterday, I spoke to Chris, and we had to make very quick decision about the user growth, because we don't want to slow it down, which was a change in our a little bit strategy, but you know what? It makes sense. Just let's do it. And that's what I love about startups. You can make changes literally overnight. That's kind of fun.
Yeah. The one question I kind of ask most founders is, across your journey, I mean, what have been the most humbling lessons, or periods where you've had to kind of take a step back and reevaluate what you're doing? I mean, I find it fascinating that you've gone through a number of iterations to eventually hit product market fit finally through the pandemic. I mean, what have been the most humbling lessons that have made you reframe or look at how you're doing things?
It's a constant learning, to be honest. I always had this approach in my life, to be humble and listen to people. One thing, I have 20 years of professional career working mainly for corporates, and moving to the entrepreneurship, it's a humbling experience, and it's very, very different. When I started, I thought, you know what, I have so much experience. For my previous company, I even opened offices in different locations. So I also have experience in operations, in management, in sales, finance. I know everything how to run a company. Oh no, it's very, very different. This was a humbling experience. That's why sometimes I'm very skeptical when a lot of people from the corporate world comes to me. I can be your advisor. I said, did you start a company? Do we start up nowadays? No. I said, oh no, you cannot, because it's very, very different. So this was humbling. And it's constantly different. I have learned one of the great ideas I got was from a guy who is 20 years younger than me, and was doing YouTube channel. I said, I love that. So I listened to people, not only super serious, yes, it's valuable, but also the younger, because have full of ideas and they're not tinted by something else. And the world is changing super, super fast. The tools we have now, which are helping us to build companies, are incredible. I mean, what we built, our platform, within 1 year, we would not be able to do it, 30 years, 20 years ago, because the tools were not there yet. So it's super interesting. They're still coming. We cannot keep up with all of that. It's super interesting. Also, the people, how they think, the customers is changing. The attitude, it's the external factors. It's all, be very receptive on everything around you, and the company as well. So this was the best humbling experience. Don't be too cocky because you have so much experience in corporates. It's doing startup is very different world.
As we approach the end of the interview, is there anything you kind of like to shout out or kind of want to highlight to the audience as we wrap up?
Although I'm saying that Smart Tribe might come across very niche for academics and industry people, I would really encourage everyone who is professional to join, because you can find your co-founder, your business partner, investor, even somebody interesting to talk to learn new things, to exchange idea, to brainstorm with someone. There's no limits. Everyone who is working within the tech world in particular should be part of our community.
Amazing. And I really appreciate you jumping on this morning. If there's anything you need, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.